What does that mean in terms of the health and the resilience of the European economy? Could they withstand another downturn here, even if another recession were just around the corner on the back of this crisis?
Well, I think the first thing is, what does it mean for global health? And it is alarming what is emerging. And, you know, South Africa has been very quick to give us this information. So we need to follow up in terms of our precautions that we take here, including around travel. I think for our economies, of course, if there are further restrictions, should this escalate, which we hope it will not, then you will probably see some impacts. I'm listening to your market reports this morning. So obviously there are jitters here about what might happen. I think we need to understand perhaps that we are better placed than we were when the first wave hit us, this COVID-19, where we were completely unprepared, where we saw terrible things happen across our member states. We have come a long way in terms of European action coordination, both in terms of protective equipment in the beginning and then development of vaccines and rollout of vaccines. Of course, the big challenge now is to understand, you know, can we develop another vaccine? Should that be needed to tackle this particular variant? But as you know, more than ever, because you report on these things on a daily basis, you know, markets are impacted by many things, including public health issues. My only word of optimism on this front is that we are better prepared. We know how to deal with a pandemic, which we are still dealing with. We do talk about a post-COVID recovery, but of course, if there is a variant of, and it's not yet of concern, but should that be the case, then there will be impacts on how companies operate. But extraordinarily, I think, we saw companies cope well. We saw people working from home. Even in this building here in the Commission, we were able to keep our system working. I think the sector you mentioned, travel, tourism, this is a sector which unfortunately gets heavily hit when we are restricting movement or when there is this, if you like, caution around gathering together. And of course, we're coming up to Christmas, and I do think that lots of us thought this Christmas would be perhaps a nicer, easier Christmas than last Christmas. But maybe we should all realise that what we're dealing with now is not going to go away overnight.
Right.
And therefore we should listen to the health advice, get vaccinated, get your booster, listen to what's coming next, and above all, let's just try and work together. And I think what we've learned from this is that we need global coordination around vaccination. Europe is very engaged in the global effort, and we will equally continue to be engaged whatever emerges from this latest variant.
Commissioner, if we do have another downturn, do you have concerns that we're out of firepower on a fiscal and monetary side? We've racked up huge debts on the back of this crisis, and monetary policy, surely we're as low as we can go. We've printed as much money as we can print at this stage.
Yeah, well, let's not go down that track just yet, but let's just observe a reality. And I think if you look at our banking system, you know, it was well capitalised going into this crisis. It was part of the solution. It allowed the rollout of national supports towards businesses, towards citizens. And, you know, the situation, of course, is that debt levels have increased in member states. But when you are dealing with an unprecedented public health crisis, in my view, the correct measures were taken, both at European, in terms of monetary policy, and at national government level, and it was well coordinated here within the Commission. So we did the right thing because we didn't allow for a crash to happen, which would have been, if you like, added to a really serious public health crisis. What will happen next, I think we should be cautious about predicting until we know more, and I think that will emerge over the coming days. But we've learned our lessons, and therefore I think we should be much better equipped to cope with whatever comes. And I mean, the most important thing is public health. I think we perhaps underplayed that in our past policies before COVID hit us, you know, with an extraordinary bang. We've learned the need for investment in public health, in having the resources, the personnel. And I think that's where the world may be stretched a little, is having the right personnel to deal with these problems.